Hello and welcome to the Last Word on Spurs. Absolutely delighted to be with you live on YouTube. Delighted to have alongside me our co-host in Jeremy Brown from the Daily Hotspur. Jay, how are you?
Yeah, really excited to kind of be on YouTube and, of course, to speak with Fabrizio, a very special guest today. So, yeah, should be a good show. Looking forward to it.
It's fair to say we haven't hyped this one up too much, Fab, to be honest. We've only posted it every 5 minutes. So we're absolutely delighted to welcome back to the Last Word on Spurs our first guest on YouTube, the wonderful Fabrizio Romano. Fabrizio, how are you?
Thank you, Ricky. Thank you, Jamie. Big pleasure for me to be together with you. Thank you to all Tottenham fans sending messages. I read you and I'm really happy to be here together to answer your questions.
Fantastic, Fab. Listen, we've got so much to get through, so we'll start as we mean to go along. And listen, how can we not start with probably the main saga so far of this summer transfer window in Harry Kane? Obviously, this on-off move to Manchester City seems to be going one way and another. As we understand it, Fab, the latest reports seem to indicate noises coming out of Harry Kane's camp is that he wouldn't now be against signing a new deal after what seemed very clear that he wanted a move away from the club. So are you able to provide us with an update as where we stand with Harry Kane and his Spurs future?
I can tell you that from Manchester City side, they are still convinced that they have some space to do this deal. So they are still pushing and hoping to have the green light from Tottenham in the coming days to sign Harry Kane. So for Manchester City, they're not giving up on Harry Kane. But to be honest, talking also with Tottenham people, they are still on the same position. So relaxed. They're convinced that Harry Kane at the end will be playing this season with Tottenham and not with Manchester City. So it's a poker game, in my opinion, now, because Manchester City know that going to the war to fight with Daniel Levy is not a smart strategy. So they're basically waiting now and see what happens between Tottenham and Harry Kane. If Tottenham and Harry Kane can find a solution, and what I'm told is that potentially the new contract won't be now, but maybe after the window. So after this crazy situation happened this summer, they can discuss maybe a new contract. But now they need to clarify about what Harry wants to do, because we saw that not showing up at training was not the best strategy. Going at the fight with the club between Manchester City and Tottenham is not the best strategy. Offering £100 million, as Manchester City did in June with an official bid, an official email from Manchester City to Tottenham, was not a smart strategy because Tottenham said no. So at the moment, there is Tottenham always saying no. But if Tottenham will change their position next week, Manchester City will be ready to jump again in the deal. This is the strategy. It's a poker game now. I expect the face-to-face dialogue talk between Harry Kane and Nuno, Harry Kane and Fabio Paratici, and of course Daniel Levy to be key to understand what's going to happen. But Manchester City are still there, are still hoping, and Tottenham are still saying no, he is staying. So the poker game is on.
So Fabrizio, just on that potential new contract, do you know if there will be a release clause in that? Has there been any talk of that?
From what I know at the moment, it's not something so advanced, so I can say, yes, there is a release clause. It's just a potential idea. So from what I'm told, it's not discussed yet so in the detail. So maybe in the next days, I can be more clear on this. But as of now, I'm told that it's not as advanced as I can say, yes, there is a clause with this fee.
So kind of an option that's been discussed in terms of Harry Kane potentially going to Manchester City has been a swap deal. I know Bernardo Silva's a player that's been offered. Aymeric Laporte's been offered. Raheem Sterling, Gabriel Jesus. Is there any chance that Spurs might accept a swap deal? Is that a possibility at all?
And when Manchester City made their proposal in June, they, as you say, they offered the possibility of including players in the negotiation, and Tottenham said, no, we are not interested in this kind of business. So they said absolutely no. Now I will keep an eye only on the name, in particular on the name of Gabriel Jesus, because maybe if the situation will change in the coming days, Gabriel Jesus could be one of the options for Tottenham. But as of now, I'm told that Tottenham position is not like progressing in talks to include any player in the negotiation for Harry Kane. So I would like opinion, not news, like opinion. I will keep an eye on Gabriel Jesus because I know that he's one of the players that maybe could be considered if Harry Kane will leave the club, but not on Laporte because Tottenham are fine with the situation and are not going for Laporte as of now. And they want money. Players are not the priority. If they are going to sell Harry Kane, it will be for a lot of money and not for players.
Fab, I think one of the talking points of this Harry Kane transfer as such has been, if he's in the right frame of mind to even play for Tottenham. We've seen reports from Sky Sports this week to suggest that he will be part of the squad to be available to play against Manchester City. Do you have any inside knowledge or understanding as to whether Harry Kane psychologically is in that right frame of mind to play in that opening game against a team that obviously want him, but not enough to offer the money that's enough for Daniel Levy to accept an offer?
I think tomorrow will be the key day to understand about it, because they will be talking about it between Harry Kane and Tottenham board and Nuno, of course, to discuss together about this situation. Because, as you say, it is a crazy situation. The first match is versus Manchester City in this kind of situation, this kind of deal. But what I always heard in the last days from Harry Kane camp is that the player is prepared to play for Tottenham, and he was convinced that Tottenham were aware of the situation of Harry Kane, and at the start of training ground, when he had to come back to the training ground and was not showing up. So that's why I think that Harry Kane knows that now going to the fight with the club is not the best strategy, as I said before, and he will be available for the club. But for this match in particular against Manchester City, they will decide tomorrow. So tomorrow we will know about it.
Just in terms of incomings, and a very big one, obviously a player that Spurs fans are all very excited about potentially, is Lautaro Martinez of Inter Milan. Now, obviously, I think there was reports over the weekend that suggesting that we'd agreed a fee prior to Lukaku heading to Chelsea. Now that Lukaku deal sounds as though it has messed things up in terms of our potential agreement. Is this a deal that you can still see happening? And is this something that Inter might change their stance with, given their financial situation? And could you kind of tell us a bit about Inter's financial situation, how bad it is?
Yes, Inter are in a difficult situation. Then I see some reports in different countries saying that Inter are selling gold players or these kind of things, and it's not like this. They are in a difficult situation, this is true, and that's why they lost Antonio Conte, and then Achraf Hakimi, and then Romero Lukaku. And I can guarantee to you, but it was public, it's not my info, that they said many times that Lukaku was untouchable, he's not the player on the market, and then they sold him to Chelsea for an important bid. So you know that you can never say never in transfer market in general, and in particular with Inter this summer. But what they say now is, after selling Romero Lukaku, we can't sell also our key player and star player like Lautaro Martinez. So it's true what Times and many other, Alistair Gold and many others reported about Lautaro Martinez. It's true that Tottenham had a bid for him. It was 70 million, so it was an important bid with some add-on included, and they love Lautaro Martinez. They really consider Lautaro Martinez as a perfect striker, but also Atletico Madrid have been asking for Lautaro Martinez for many days in the last few weeks, and Inter always said, if we sell Lukaku, we are not selling Lautaro. So at the moment, the situation of Lautaro Martinez is really complicated. We will see if it will change in the coming days, but as of now, Inter are saying no way. And if there is a chance, and there was a chance, I would say right now, it was for 90 million euro and not for 70. So add-ons were key to understand if maybe Tottenham will try again. It has to be with add-ons to arrive around 90 million euro.
Fab, another alternative striker being linked to Spurs heavily throughout this summer has been Fiorentina striker Dusan Vlahovic. We understand, regardless of Harry Kane's future, he's a very key target for Tottenham. Of course, he had that breakthrough season where he scored 21 Serie A goals, and you would say he probably would cost substantially less than Martinez. Initially, they do suggest, though, that Fiorentina could tie him down to a new contract that contains a release clause which is closer to the potential value of the player. Can you see that being an option for Tottenham, regardless of how Harry Kane stays or leaves Tottenham this summer?
First of all, Fabio Paratici loves this player. He's convinced that he will be one of the best strikers in few years, because he's really great, already great in Serie A, and he's convinced that he's an international player, not just for Serie A. So that's why Tottenham are really keen on him, and also Atletico Madrid. They're looking for both. They're looking for a striker. So that's why Tottenham and Atletico Madrid are looking for similar players this summer. But talking about Dusan Vlahovic, Fiorentina are offering him an important contract, and from what I'm told, salary is almost close to be agreed. It's about the release clause that they don't have yet an agreement between Fiorentina and Vlahovic camp. So they need to find an agreement in the next days. If not, I'm told that at the moment, the value of the player for Fiorentina is not as reported 60 million euros or something like this, but they are not selling the player for 60 million euros. They want more than this. So I expect around 70, 75 million euros. That's why also Vlahovic deal is not so easy. But Tottenham are still in contact with people close to the player. They really like the player. So as I always said, guys, to Tottenham fans in the last months, Fabio Paratici works like this. He is in talks with many different players for the same position for many weeks. So this is Paratici's style, and get used to it because Fabio Paratici works like this, and I like his style. So I think it's the right way to arrive to your targets, and he showed it at Juventus. So Lautaro, Vlahovic, but many others. He works like this. He's in contact with people in the same moment, and with Vlahovic he will continue till Vlahovic will sign a contract with Fiorentina. So at the moment the situation is still Tottenham looking at Vlahovic's situation. Of course, we have to see what happens with Kane, because if Kane stays, I don't know if Vlahovic will be 100% sure of moving to be a backup option to a top player like Harry Kane. So this is also a factor to be considered.
So another player that we've been linked with quite a lot over the summer is Takahiro Tomiyasu from Bologna. Of course, there were suggestions that deal would get done after the Olympics. Of course, he was away with Japan representing with them. I think they came 4th place in the end. Is that a deal that Spurs are still looking at, or is that something where Spurs are maybe looking elsewhere now? Or is that a deal we're still pursuing?
No, they are still in talks with the agents of Tomiyasu. They have still no agreement with Bologna because they offered around 18 million euro and Bologna were starting around 25. Then they were asking for 20, 22 guaranteed. So there is still a gap. But guys, Paratici works like this. So as of now, he has this first bid not accepted by Bologna. He's still in contact with people close to Tomiyasu, to his agents. Maybe in some days he will jump back in the deal, he will make a new bid and he will sign the player, or he will go for a different player. This is Paratici's style, working in the same moment with different players for the same position. So also Tomiyasu, I'm still saying that he's a player in the list of Tottenham, but he's not the priority right now. He's one of the players that Paratici is monitoring, and it could be an opportunity in the coming days. Yes, I won't say that he's off. He's not off yet.
Fab, another couple of defenders that Spurs have been heavily linked with over the summer. One is Sven Botman, the other is Nikola Milenkovic. Are either of those two defenders still potentially an option for Tottenham? We understand that Spurs are still looking to add another centre-back, at least one more, before the end of this summer transfer window. Anything on those two?
To be honest, at the moment, I think Milenkovic is really close to join West Ham. It's not done yet, but they are in advanced talks. So let's see. I think at the end, West Ham has huge chances to sign him. If not, they will go on Zuma. And also talking about Tottenham, the other name you made was, I don't remember. You asked me about?
Sven Botman.
Sven Botman, yes. Now, I think Sven Botman will go maybe to another country, not to England. We will see in the coming days. He was close to join Atalanta, but maybe he will go to in another country. And talking about Tottenham, they were really interested also in Kurt Zouma. So, you know, that Zouma was an opportunity they were considering before signing Romero. So they were planning with Plan A, Romero as the priority for Fabio Paratici. And Plan B was with the same money, 55 million euro, Milenkovic, Zouma, and Tomiyasu. So they decided to go for Romero, but maybe if Zouma is not joining West Ham or Sevilla in the Koundé deal or any other team, he could be an opportunity because Paratici appreciates the player, but as of now, it's not a priority.
Just one player a lot of people are asking about is Koundé. Is he going to Chelsea? Is that a deal that looks to be getting done still?
It's not done yet. As Monchi said today, many clubs were asking, and also Tottenham, because Tottenham were really keen on Koundé. But I think they spent a lot of money on Romero, so they are looking for something different right now. They are not signing another centre-back for 60 million euros or something like this. It's true that they were trying, including Davinson Sanchez in a negotiation, but Koundé wants to play Champions League football. He has Champions League football with Sevilla, and he wants to keep playing play Champions League football with his next club. So Chelsea are leading the race. It's not done yet, but it's a serious opportunity.
Yeah. Just on departures now, Tanguy Ndombele is a guy who been here now at the club for 2 years. It's been really disappointing, of course, a club record signing. There's been a lot of talk about him potentially leaving the club this summer. Is that something that you understand that might happen? And I know in terms of he's been kind of upset about his friends in Sergio Aurier and Moussa Sissoko potentially departing. Can you see Tanguy Ndombele leaving Spurs this summer?
To be honest, I see Sissoko leaving the club, yes, because they're trying to find a solution for Sissoko, so he's one of the players who can leave the club. For Ndombele, in total, they are not desperate to sell him. So if the right bid will come in, they will be prepared to sell the player, to discuss with him. If not, he will be included in the team. So they are not like desperate to let him go. I still remember last summer when Inter wanted him, and they were still in the same position. So they were not accepting any swap deal for Ndombele, but an important bid or nothing was the stance. And now also with Fabio Paratici, it's still the same. They go on with this position on Ndombele, and we will see in the coming days.
Fab, like I say, it's been chaotic in terms of Spurs' summer transfer window so far in terms of moves that could be on, moves that could be off. A couple of weeks ago, you mentioned Ben Davies being one of the names that could leave Tottenham. Is that still a possibility? And if so, where do you see him moving between now and that transfer deadline?
I would include him in the list like with Ndombele. You know, the clubs have like list, okay, players we want to get rid of, players that if we receive a bid, we are open and untouchable. I think that he's in the medium list together with Ndombele. So if they receive a bid, he's one of the players who could leave the club. But at the moment, he's not advanced yet. There are no advanced tools yet for him, but he's one of the players to keep an eye on because talking about Fabio Paratici, I know that you're not used to it in England, and so I try to help you with this kind of business, how it works. But imagine that with Juventus, he was always working like this. One player today is on the market, tomorrow we're going to change our stance. So he's always really open in the negotiation with the final aim of doing the best for the club, of course. So that's why I think that Ben Davies is one of the players. I'm told that Ben Davies is one of the players who could leave the club, but for the right bid, they are not desperate to let it go.
Okay. Another name, a player again has been quite heavily linked with a move away from Spurs this summer is Harry Winks. Hasn't really featured regularly over the past 18 months. Probably does need a new challenge in his career. Do you think Harry Winks between now and the deadline could end up leaving Tottenham?
I'm told that Everton had an interest in him. There was reports around, and I'm told that it's true that they had an interest, but I'm also told that the player is really happy at Tottenham. In the last days, I've been told that the player is happy. Of course, he's not a starter as of now, but he could be a player with a lot of potential. He's happy at Tottenham and with Tottenham Life with Nuno. So I'm not 100% sure that he's leaving the club this summer, because the feeling around the player is positive with Tottenham, and he still wants to show his skills at Tottenham. So I will keep it open because I think Tottenham with young and interesting players will go with this kind of project. With Fabio Paratici in particular, as he signed Bryan Hill was something surprising, but with this kind of mentality, going for this kind of players. So this is the situation.
So one thing about doing this show live is great is that obviously the audience can interact, and I'm seeing a lot of comments asking about James Ward-Prowse. Now, this is something that's just come up from the Telegraph. Obviously, it has literally just come out, so I wouldn't say that you particularly know about it. But is that something that you've heard of potentially?
I'm gonna check. I'm gonna check later.
Yeah,
but as of now, to be honest, I was not hearing his name among players
that's fair enough.
that Tottenham were working on. And for Zakaria, is one of the players. Fabio Paratici has a strong relationship with his agent. They have really good relationship, and Zakaria has always been together with Tolisso, one of his players in the list at Juventus. So I will keep an eye on one of these two players as potential possibilities, potential options in this position, because they are defensive midfielders with skills that Tottenham need in this moment. And then depends about money. It depends also about Sissoko, if they can find a solution for Sissoko. But both players have been always appreciated by the board.
So is that an area that Spurs are potentially looking at? Another midfielder, another central midfielder?
I will keep an eye on midfielders. Yes. I will keep an eye on midfielders, and so let's see what happens with Kane for strikers.
Okay. Just on another departure potentially, Japhet Tanganga, I know who's linked with a move to Turkey, a potential loan offer. Is he a player that might leave the club? I know he's played a lot of pre-season games, so it would kind of be a bit of a strange one in terms of seeing him leave. But is that someone that might leave the club this summer?
It's because they were waiting for Romero. That's why I think they was playing a lot, and that's why they are prepared to let him go to Galatasaray from Tottenham. It's true that there is this bid, and they are open to letting go. It's up to the player. He's not decided yet. Maybe he's waiting for something different if something arrives from different clubs in the next days. But Galatasaray are still there, hoping for him to give the green light, and so I think there are possibilities for this deal to go through.
Fab, Stephen Bergwijn, we're coming to the last few questions here. Obviously, a player that we understand Spurs are very keen to keep hold of. There's still an apparent interest from Ajax. Is there any chance that Bergwijn, or even I throw in also Lucas Moura, any of those two potentially departing the club between now and the deadline?
What you said about Bergwijn is 100% true, because Ajax wanted him strongly. They were really trying and pushing with the player, with his agent, with Tottenham. But since Nuno arrived, they decided to go on with the player. The player is so happy because Nuno is showing a lot of confidence on him. So I don't see him leaving as of now. Then maybe the situation will change on deadline week. But as of now, the situation is really happy between Bergwijn and Tottenham, and so I see him staying. And about Lucas Moura, he had some proposal from Arabic country, from Arabic league, and so this kind of possibility, but he was not open to this kind of move. So at the moment, he's still quiet on Lucas Moura, but Bergwijn, I'm sure that he will stay. About Lucas Moura, we will see in the coming days.
Just on the defensive positions, centre back and right back are lots of two positions that Spurs fans all still want to strengthen. Is that an area that Spurs are really looking to prioritise, or is that maybe an area they'll look at another time in the window?
I will keep an eye on centre back, as I said before, and also midfielder. So these two positions are key for Tottenham, and I think that they want to try to find another solution for the centre back. Tomiyasu would be a perfect option because he can play as right back, as centre back, so it would be perfect for what Tottenham are looking for. But let's see if Fabio Paratici will decide to go for him or not. And yes, I will keep an eye on midfielder, as I said before. We will see if Sissoko leaves, what happens with Winks. But they want to sign a new defensive midfielder, and so in the next days we will have an answer on this position.
Fab, we're coming to the final couple of questions. I just want to, if I can, just throw some names at you and you tell us if Spurs have got an interest in these guys, if you don't mind. So quick fire, I'll roll them off. We've got Noni Maduki, if I hopefully pronounced that right, João Papanina, Adama Traore, Yassin Adil, Houssam Aouar. Out of those guys, I also got to throw in there, of course, Mikkel Damsgaard. Any of those names still of an interest to Tottenham this window?
I will keep an eye. Madueke is a player that Paratici is scouting since a long time, but as of now, there are no negotiations. He's a player he's scouting since a long time. Damsgaard, I will keep an eye on him, not only for Tottenham, also for Tottenham, but not only, because in the next days, I think some bid will arrive to Sampdoria for this player. And then Aouar, because we said about the midfielder, and they are looking for different players. Aouar is a player that in the next 15 days, maybe we can have some opportunity with Premier League, because he's prepared to leave Lyon. And Fabio Paratici, I can give you this like behind the scenes, wanted to sign him at Juventus last summer. They were like deciding Chiesa or Aouar, different position, but they were needing to invest on one single player. Andrea Pirlo wanted Chiesa and Paratici wanted Chiesa, so it was a good deal for Juventus. But Aouar was a serious option, and Paratici has always been in love with this player. So I will keep an eye on Aouar. If it's not this summer, maybe in the future for Tottenham.
Another player that lots of people ask about is Lacroix from Wolfsburg. Is that a player that Spurs are looking at all?
Still quiet. There's something in Paratici style, contacting people, but nothing advanced as of now.
Okay, so just on our current centre-backs, of course, Christian Romero, Guy, Spurs fans, all desperate to get over the line. That's, of course, he's now in the club, and we're all very excited to see him. He's currently, I know he got an injury in the final of the Copa America, and he's currently training on his own at Hotspur Way. Is there a chance that we could potentially see him on the weekend start against Man City? What's the latest on his injury update?
To be honest with you, I'm told that the situation is still uncertain. So in the next hours, maybe they will know more about this, but it's not a serious injury. So don't worry about Romero also, because he's a fantastic professional. So I prefer to talk long term. And saying long term, I think Tottenham signed a fantastic centre-back. They were really 100% convinced to sign him, and Fabio Paratici signed him in Juventus. And if Romero is now at Tottenham, it's also thanks to him, because he was doing a great job to sign him. And Barcelona were not in the race. From what I'm told, it was only Tottenham for Cristiano Romero.
There was just a couple of reports in Portugal earlier today, I think, about João Palhinha. He was a guy that Nuno, I think, wanted at Wolves. Is that a guy that Spurs are interested in?
I will let you know, because at the moment I have no answer yet on this name, but I will try to find out in the next hours. You know that we have like 50 players for Tottenham per day, and I'm using to this with Fabio Paratici, so I will let you know.
The good thing, Fabi, Spurs fans are quite calm, right, on Twitter. You don't get too many questions, so they're very calm about asking you about these players.
No questions. Also for Romero, never had any questions.
Final question, and this is probably an opinion from you more than anything. How many more times do you think you'll be saying to us Spurs fans, here we go, before the end of this summer transfer window?
I would say 2 or 3. 2 or 3.
Big ones? 2 or 3 big ones?
I don't know. It depends by what happens with Kane. It's up to Harry Kane deal.
Okay. Fab, always a pleasure to have you on. I'm sure, Jay, it's been a great having Fab on as our first YouTube live show. Been brilliant.
Definitely. Really enjoyed it.
Fab, we'll be in touch, and I'm sure we'll try and get you back on before the end of the summer transfer window. And as always, thank you so much for joining us here over at The Last Word on Spurs.
Thank you, guys. Always big pleasure. Good luck for your Tottenham, and I hope the best for you. Thank you for inviting me, and see you soon.
Our pleasure. And again, guys, to everyone watching live, to our listeners all around the world, thank you so much. And as always, come on, you Spurs.